Hey, Brennan here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Got another 2024 rookie report. Today we're going to talk about Audric Estime, junior running back, 5'11", 227 pounds. He is from Notre Dame. I'm going to be joined by my podcast co-host, Jason DeRanzo, and we're going to break into his stats. We're going to break into his PFF stats. We're going to talk draft capital. We're going to get in depth on his scouting report. What does he look like as a fantasy asset in our 2024 rookie drafts? If you play Dynasty, you play fantasy, and you're looking for a YouTube channel out there that's not only going to give you insight into the 2024 draft class, we're dropping 2026 and 2027 prospect films too, future Dynasty assets. Hit that subscribe button. Please help me grow the channel, and thanks for watching. All right, Jason, let's get to our rookie report on Audric Estime. All right, 5'11", 227 pound true junior coming out of Notre Dame. All right, had a pretty successful season. We're going to go through his career statistics again, his PFF stats. We're going to talk about scouting report, his draft and dynasty projections. Let's get right to it. 357 rushes, 2,200 yards on his 3-year career, 29 touchdowns, a very nice, respectable 6.2 average running on the ground. Only 25 receptions in 3 seasons, averaging 10.8 yards a catch with 1 TD and 4 fumbles on the season. And look at these PFF stats coming across the screen here, Jason. I mean, he is got really nice stats across the entire board here. Rushing grade 94, but it's got to be almost the 90th percentile. Yards after contact 4.2, looks like 85th percentile. Elusive rating 126 in the 80 percentile. Yards after contact ranked 9th in college football with 892. 64 missed tackles forced, tied 17th in college football, and carries of 15 yards plus, 22 ranked 7th. So showing some explosion, obviously, his power.
Yeah.
What do these stats tell you? We're going to get into a scouting report in a minute. I mean, my goodness, these stats across the board are just fantastic.
Yeah, it's nearly perfect. I would say this is another one where I might just throw out that elusive rating because I want more
Yeah,
context to what that actually means.
yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
think he's elusive. He's breaking tackles. I'm not sure he's really evading. I think
Mhm.
his lateral agility is good enough, which we'll get into. But that's the one where I'm like, that maybe we switch that with Blake Corum, and that would make more sense. Like if
Yeah,
we just
maybe.
flipped
Yeah,
both of those.
those
But
two
that's
things,
the
right?
one. Yeah.
So let's get into his scouting report. All right, the first thing you guys are going to think about when you look at this guy is that he's a bruising kind of running back, right? I mean, 5'11", 227 pounds. I mean, he has got the ability to move the piles. He's going to be, I think he's a north-south runner. I don't think this is a guy you're going to kind of scheme to run out on outside zone plays. I think he's more going to be an inside zone gap guy where he's got to go north and south to really be productive. I'm not sure he's got the ability to really win on the outside, but I'll tell you what, from a physicality standpoint, there's a lot of guys out there that are just going to go for these running backs that are bigger, stronger, to move those piles. But I'm not really sure if the NFL is really, that excited about these bigger lumbering backs more than they are maybe the smaller backs. We'll see. Where in the last couple of years we've been kind of trending to some of these smaller backs, but nonetheless, I mean, Estime is a guy that a team is going to want if they've got maybe smaller backs on their roster and they're looking for someone to take the first and second down who's got that play strength, who's got that just bruising, lowering the pad ability. I think Estime is going to fit the bill.
With him, there's so much that goes into his skill set. I really wanted to get a better idea of him, so I went back. I started watching the all 22 of the Clemson game last night. Watched the whole thing. I'll tell you what, he's got great physicality. He's got a good
Mhm.
lower center of gravity. I think he is actually a pretty good pass catcher. I saw a one-handed catch in some of the film I watched. He made a good adjustment for a catch outside of his frame in the Clemson game I watched last night. I think that's an underrated part of his game. I'm not sure if he's a fluid, agile athlete, but
Right.
he can definitely make people miss with what he sees as far as how he encounters contact and knowing which direction he should go. But he's not doing that based off a fluid cut. Like that's just not happening. And as far as what you said to the outside, I think if he allows his blockers to set on outside zone stretch plays, he'll be fine. But he doesn't have the burst to get to the perimeter. But I do think the speed might be a little bit better than I initially thought.
Yeah, so some of the things that might hold him back from being like a great dynasty, asset for us is the one thing I did. I did a all 22 film review for my dashboard subscribers. I forget who I was on there with, but we had done two two games. And the one thing that kind of stood out to me was his, he's got some lateral ability when it navigates to the line of scrimmage when he's just starting to accelerate. But when he's in the
Mhm.
second level and he's kind of on his way going to where he's going, he has a hard time, I think, cutting and making guys miss. So I think, the first 10 yards, before he gets up to that top speed of his, and I don't really know what his speed is. I think he has the ability to laterally move, but I'm a little concerned about when he does, when he is in full stride, having the ability other than just to be a guy that's going to win more on a physical, lowering the pads and the boom, getting the extra yards versus kind of making cuts and making guys miss. I just don't see him being that real lateral quickness, fluid mover. A little bit in the trenches, but not as much as I would like. And in today's NFL, I think you really need to be able to have the jump cut to stop, redirect without too much of the acceleration.
I think behind the line of scrimmage, he does a little bit better as far as like the cutting ability, but the high speed change of direction, I
Yeah,
didn't see any of that. More so than him just having to try to adjust to the guys that he sees in the second and going into the third
right.
level. So that's the part that I'm a little concerned about. So I agree with you there. And he's just not an explosive athlete, but he's
Mhm.
also, I mean, if you look at if you look at him on game film, like he's just a lumbering frame. I mean,
Mhm.
even the upper body just looks huge. So you're not going to expect him to be explosive, but that's also going to, cap him at his potential too.
Right. So let's talk about his draft capital. I see him a between a third and a fifth rounder. Do you think I'm on point there? Do you think that's a good kind of range where he could potentially fall? Do you see him maybe sneaking into day two?
I don't see. I don't know if I see day two. I think 3 to 5 is actually perfect for a guy like
Mhm.
this.
Okay. And so if that is the case, of course, without landing spot, we don't know. But this Superflex rookie draft, I would see him in the back end of the second, most likely a third round pick, unless he gets, third round, mid third round, and he's on a team that really needs a running back and could
Yeah,
potentially be a starter. But I don't see him getting drafted to be a starter next year. I look at him as a backup piece, a developmental type running back.
yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said.
So give me your dynasty player value comp. Who do you think he looks like, and what kind of career do you think he could have in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me a lot of the physicality that David Montgomery had when he was in
Mm,
college. Not so much the fluid agility. I think David Montgomery was much better with that, but I
I
just
do
see the
too.
running style, the size, just the way he takes on contact, the adjustments. And I actually do, like I said, I think he's going to be a much better pass catcher than what the stats at Notre Dame show from what I saw in film. So I think he could definitely make a living as a receiver too. So I saw a lot of David Montgomery, just not the fluid agility that David Montgomery has.
Yeah, my comp for him was Brian Robinson Jr., right? The not coming out of Brian Robinson
I think that's a
Jr.,
great
right?
comp. Yeah.
With from Alabama was, he's a little stiff. He's got the power, he's got the pad level, he's going to make you pay. He's tough to get to the ground. So he's going to be that bruiser. So, hey, that would be a great ceiling for Estime to be Brian Robinson Jr., right? If he ends up being Brian
Yeah.
Robinson Jr., you're going to have a top 15 potentially, running back on any given season. I think Brian Robinson did pretty well this year for a lot of people who were
Yeah.
down on him. So that's kind of what I see his ceiling being. But I think he more could have like a role next year, like a Roshan Johnson, who's kind of a
Mhm.
big committee guy who, just may eventually get the job, but he's not going to come in and be drafted for a guy that they're going to come in and expect immediate production. So we might have to wait on him. So
Mhm.
there you guys got it. Audric Estime. There is his rookie report for the 2024 rookie draft coming up. Can't freaking wait.